Welcome back to the Control Academy, everyone. I'm your host, Marshall, and today we're playing MonoRed Control in Explorer. You heard me right, MonoRed Control. Wow, this is probably one of the weirder decks that I've put on the channel so far. It's probably not tier 1 meta by any means, but it's a lot of fun and it's stronger than you might expect, primarily because people see basic mountains and make assumptions about what you're playing that end up being wrong. And so this deck ends up being a lot of fun and surprisingly powerful for what it is. Before we go any further, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like what we're doing here, putting out a new control deck every single week, please consider subscribing. It means a lot to me, and as the channel grows, that makes it even easier for me to justify spending the time putting together a new deck for you guys every week. So, MonoRed Control. I had a bit of an itch to go back to Modern and play a prison deck that I had messed around with here and there. And in Modern, you've got all these really great tools to, sort of counter things with Chalice of the Void. You can use Ensnaring Bridge to deal with stuff. And there's not really a good analog in Pioneer or Explorer right now for prison. But MonoRed Control is still a thing because, red has a pretty good amount of removal. It's got some interesting ways to draw cards, and importantly is it's got some pretty decent top-end threats. And so I started playing around with this deck as a way to just sort of shake it up, change the pace a little bit. I'm playing a lot of 3-colored blue decks lately, especially UWX. And so if this video doesn't do well, then I will take my punishment and go back to playing blue. But I wanted to shake it up for a little bit. We're in best of 1 this week, primarily because that's where this deck is going to shine, and I'll show you a little bit of why in a second. But next week, I'll be going and playing best of 3. So if you've been waiting for best of 3 content, sit tight. It's coming. I just don't have as much time to record this week as a best of 3 video would require. So it's coming. I believe I'm going to be playing a Bant control deck in best of 3 next week. If I can get it out sooner, I will. But for right now, I wanted to try this out. So, MonoRed Control. You don't normally think of control when you think of red because it's, these really aggressive cards. But realistically, we've got cheap ways to deal, 2 damage, 3 damage to a bunch of things. We've got some wraths that are, decent enough. We have Anger of the Gods that can deal 3 damage to creatures, which for this format, now that White Note is gone, actually gets a good amount of the format. And so between this and our other removal spells, we can actually kill a lot of things with Anger of the Gods. There's some other options for this, for like Sweltering Suns, if you want something that cycles instead of has the exile clause here. Either's fine. I like to play with Anger of the Gods just because there are things like Greasefang that are better to exile than to send to the graveyard. Pick your poison. There's also Burn Down the House as a higher end removal spell, but I'll get to in a second why I've shied away from that one. But again, I mentioned playing with fire. Abrade also is flexible because it has artifact removal on board. We've got Banefire. This is a scalable removal spell that can also potentially close out the game. The fact that I go with Banefire instead of something like Crackle with Power is because 1 is a little bit easier to cast, and then 2 is that if you can cast it for 6 mana or more, the spell can't be countered and the damage can't be prevented. So if you really get to that end of the game and you really need to kill something, maybe it's your opponent, it gets you around most counter spells. Not all things that can functionally counter it. Things like Endless Detour will still mess with Banefire, but it ends up being a lot better on average than you'd expect. It is a sorcery, which is downside, but you kind of make it work. In terms of card draw, we've got March of Reckless Joy, which is just generally great. Cast on your opponent's end step. You have until the end of your next turn to cast 2 of those, and so this becomes a really great way to just yoink a bunch of cards out of your deck at instant speed and potentially play them that end step or during your following turn. It's really great. And then my favorite cantrip right now, I've been testing this in a Jeskai and a Grixis build, build that I haven't put on the channel. And from what I'm hearing about the SNC championships is that I'm not the only one to go back to trying this card. But Cleansing Wildfire is way better than I remember. I played it in a modern Jeskai deck for a little bit and loved it there. And then for some reason, I just moved off of Jeskai for a while. But this card, minimum it's 2 mana draw card, but with so many decks right now leaning on shocks, tri-lands, these really complicated mana bases, you can take people off of a color pretty easily if they're leaning too hard on these multicolor lands in their opening hands. And then if they happen to be playing with relatively few basics, I've been guilty of this in some of the 3-color decks I've put together recently. It doesn't take a lot of Cleansing Wildfires to just remove all the basics from someone's deck, and after that point, between Cleansing Wildfire and Field of Ruin, you can just straight up start strip mining people. And with Cleansing Wildfire also drawing a card, there's just such a low floor, or a high floor and a low ceiling for what this card can do. And so I really like it. We've also got Reckoner Bankbuster as a way to draw cards here. I experimented with Treasure Map in this spot, and I think the actual card draw is more valuable, and the fact that it eventually becomes a creature that can attack is also really nice. There's a lot to like about this card. It's not perfect, but it's really good. Shatterskull Smashing, removal with a land, awesome. We talked about Anchor the Gods, and then we get up to the win cons, so to speak. So Chandra, Torture of Defiance is just one of the best red planeswalkers ever printed. It has a card advantage type ability in the plus and a way to generate mana, so this can functionally cost 2 mana if you end up using that mode, which becomes relevant in certain scenarios. It has a way to just sort of rip creatures off the battlefield with its -3, and the emblem is not at all unattainable, and so being able to just sort of dome someone for 5 mana, 5 damage rather, every time you cast a spell is really powerful. We've also got Karn, the Great Creator here. So Karn turns off the activated abilities of artifacts your opponent control, which is really useful. Things like vehicles suddenly just can't be crewed. And for some decks, that's more relevant than others. Like there are some green stompy decks that really like Esika's Chariot right now that just can't do anything with Karn on the battlefield. You can go ahead and use Karn to just straight up remove your opponent's treasures with its +1, which turns non-creature artifacts into artifact creatures with power and toughness equal to their mana value. That is a valuable use of this. And also, if we happen to have an artifact on the battlefield, even a Reckoner Bankbuster, if we don't have any way to crew it, we can just go ahead and turn it into a 2/2 and start beating it for damage, and that's potentially pretty useful. But where Karn the Great Creator comes in most is -2. Now, in other Eternal formats, Karn's -2 can be absolutely devastating because you do things like liquid metal coating to turn your opponent's lands into artifacts, and then they can't activate the mana abilities of their lands. So that is pretty rough. In our case, we're using this as a way to, in best of one, grab some silver bullets from the sideboard. So we've got Grafdigger's Cage, which is a little bit less relevant with Wynota out of the format right now, but as a way to just prevent things like Kroxa from coming back or whatnot, you can just go ahead and play this for 1 mana. Silent Gravestone is a similar card here. It is a great sort of silver bullet against the Greasefang decks. If you see them, you can either just let it sit there and prevent both Greasefang's ability and Can't Stay Away's targeting ability from doing anything, and then if it looks like they're about to remove it, if you've got 4 mana up, you can just go ahead and nuke the entire graveyards and then draw a card very nicely. We've also got Unlicensed Hearse, which is maybe going a little bit too hard on graveyard hate, but the upside of Unlicensed Hearse is that it's also a threat, and that if we're running out of things to do on board, this can help close out the game as well. This is one of these 3 hate spells could probably be something else. But this gives us a couple different options to prevent graveyard decks from getting us. And if we need to pull multiple answers because people have removed them, having some variety is still decent. So I don't mind that at all. We've got Aetherflux Reservoir as something that can turn into a 4/4 with Karn's ability. It's pretty great. It's a way for us to gain some life as we start building back up. And it's very rare that we can sort of storm off and pay the 50 life to activate his ability, but it is not impossible. And so therefore you gain increasingly more life with every spell you cast each turn. So things like March of Reckless Joy and whatnot can start to really stack that up. And it isn't impossible to use this, but mostly this is a way for us to sort of stabilize our life totals after the game's been going on for a little while. We have a copy of the Immortal Sun here, which would be it seems a little counterintuitive given what the main board of this deck takes, but the number of Super Friend decks or just decks that are reliant on or make use of things like Ob Nixilis, especially in Best of One, are pretty prevalent here. So there's going to be a non-zero number of times where turning off our Planeswalkers' loyalty abilities isn't great, but it's worth it to draw extra cards, prevent our opponent from using their planeswalkers, make our things cheaper, and then our creatures get +1/+1. And we don't have a lot of creatures, but we do have them. And so therefore, having this as just, again, a silver bullet, we don't want it most of the time, but when we do want it, we really want to be able to grab it with Karn, so it's there. In terms of what we do, if we do shut off our Planeswalker's loyalty abilities, we have Luxior, Giada's Gift here. For 1 mana to cast it and 1 mana to equip it, we can turn all of our Planeswalkers, or at least one of our Planeswalkers at any given time, into a pretty beefy creature. So, for instance, if Karn goes ahead and grabs this and then equips himself, suddenly he's a 3/3, and that's not too bad. And the important thing is that we can equip creatures, we can equip our planeswalkers even with an Immortal Sun on the battlefield, and so it lets us still get around that. And honestly, this is one of the things that Karn will probably get most of the time, because suiting up our planeswalkers to start attacking is actually pretty powerful. And then the last thing in here is a Meteor Golem. It's a 3/3 for 7. It's pretty pricey, but having a way to just go ahead and just destroy a non-land permanent an opponent controls is pretty powerful. And so we've got a 1/of Meteor Golem in our sideboard for that. Okay, that's a sideboard, and that's why this gets us some flexible answers in Best of One. I am a big fan of it. Moving up the curve, we got Goldspan Dragon, which requires no introduction. It gets us mana. It hits for 4. It's just generally a really good win con. It's hard to not be excited about this card, but we've seen it a million times, so I'll go ahead and skip that. For the 1/of Urabrask, this should. I don't know. You're totally right going ahead and putting this in as just another Goldspan Dragon. But I wanted to try this, and I've actually been really happy with it so far. Where this deck is really good at just sort of exhausting our opponent's resources, and so having Urabrask come in as a hasty attacker that both gets us access to more cards and denies our opponent a hand that lasts for more than 1 turn is actually pretty useful. And so especially if our opponent's been worn down to the point where they're kind of top decking already, this means that they, that control decks can't sit on counter spells that they draw off the top of their deck. Our opponents, if they want to go ahead and try to play out a bunch of creatures, they have to do it all in 1 turn for all intents and purposes. And so, I mean, to be fair, it only replaces the first card draw each turn for our opponent. But as a sort of little upside, I actually really like Urabrask in this deck. Again, totally fine if you replace it with another Goldspan Dragon, even another Banefire, but I don't know. I've been having fun with him. And sort of rounding at the top here, we've got Chandra, Awakened Inferno. It's an uncounterable planeswalker for 6 that as she pluses, she gives our opponent permanent recurring damage sources. So as we dirtle through the game, we still have an out. At -3, we can go ahead and do a sort of selective Anger of the Gods type effect there. So it's a nice little wrath. And then if you need to pinpoint some damage, the -X lets you go ahead and just pick off a creature in a scalable way. And combined with Luxior, Chandra basically starts off as an 8/8 with Luxior, which is not to be trifled with. So I really like Chandra here, and it's really great against control decks. There's an argument for having two of them there, but I went with one and put the other as Ugin the Spirit Dragon. If you hit 8 mana, there's not a lot of better to do than Ugin, honestly. If you +2 him, he's a lightning bolt. If you -X it, you can go ahead and wipe away all sort of colored permanents on the battlefield, which, you know, is really great, especially with a lot of the things that we want to have sitting on the battlefield, at least early in the game, being colorless. Karn is colorless, Reckoner Bankbuster is colorless. You know, we would lose our Chandras and our Goldspan Dragons, but, you know, that's something we'll just have to work around. But realistically, within 2 turns, we're able to use his -10, which is just nuts. You gain 7, draw 7, put 7 permanent cards from the hand on the battlefield. It's real good. It's kind of aspirational. That's why there's only 1 copy of Ugin in here. But it's one of those things where once Ugin resolves, it's pretty common to just have your opponent scoop. And so that's why there's 1 of them in here. The mana base over here could be entirely mountains, and that's totally cool. If you want to save on the budget for this deck, you can go ahead and skip the Dens of the Bugbears. You can skip the Ramunap Ruins, which honestly aren't necessarily that great in this deck anyway, but just a way to sort of close out the game a little bit toward the end, totally fine. If you don't have Sokenzans from Standard, you can skip these, but being able to make some 1/1s at instant speed is pretty great. And really the ones that you want to spend the most time on are the Fields of Ruin, which gives you a way that between this and Cleansing Wildfire, you can really control your opponent's mana base. And then Scavenger Grounds. It is a rare. You can skip this, but a little bit of main deck graveyard hate goes a long way, especially with the number of things like Cruxa in the metagame right now. And so I like having this one-off in here. But again, this mana base could be all mountains if you wanted to be. And you can go ahead and, you know, the Field of Ruins are staples at Uncommon. So I think they're really great to have. But this deck's biggest benefit is that, you know, while I've chosen a lot of, rares for the main deck, you can skip a lot of the cards in the mana base that, you know, you might not be so into. So anyway, this deck, MonoRed Control, it is a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy watching as I dirtle my way into burning my opponent out. And so again, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you like what we're doing here on the channel, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the games. All right, we are up against Appalach. Good luck, Appalach. All right, we're on the play, which I like. We got 2 Abrades, Shatterskull Smashing, and a Cleansing Wildfire. It's not the best hand I've ever had, but I will keep it. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start by putting this in tapped. Got enough removal that I don't think we'll be casting that as a spell anytime soon, and just making sure that we have plenty of mana is worthwhile. And here we're going to go ahead and put our opponent's mana base to the test and see how reliant on that tri-land they really were. Given that it is a green deck with Temur, they probably have, you know, plenty of forests, but it's entirely possible that that was either their only blue or only red source in their hand, and this could be really punishing. Or maybe not, but either way, it cost us very little to do that on turn 2. The fact that they are thinking very hard about what land to get makes me think that I might be correct about them having kept this hand with its colors based on that Ketria Triome. Oh, snap. They don't run basics, or either that or they're all in their hand. All right, so we've got the turn 1 strip mine, or turn 2 strip mine, rather. I shouldn't laugh, but, like, that's... Yeah, it's rough. Oh man, I think they're pretty tilted about this. This is why you gotta run basics in your deck. You gotta run them. Between, I mean, even just without Cleansing Wildfire being in the format, just with Field of Ruin, like you've got to respect these ways to blow up lands. So yeah, I think our opponent's a little mad. I'm not going to antagonize them, but I don't know. Maybe they got a wild toddler on the loose. That happens to me when I'm not recording, so I'm not going to put it past your opponent. Okay. And there we go. All right. Cleansing Wildfire, MVP. On to the next one. All right. Next opponent is Romo Tickler. Huh, okay. Good luck, Romo Tickler. We're on the play, which I like. We're a little weirdly short on red mana, which I don't like as much, but we'll be able to make do. But I like everything that's in the hand otherwise. I just happily switch this Scavenger Grounds for a mountain. Boom. And pass. Can we get the turn 2 concede again? Alright, well, we got a decent start from there. Let's go ahead and see what our opponent's got for basics. I believe Romo Tickler understands the importance of playing basic lands. No, again? Holy mackerel. Jesus. We don't deserve this. Yes! Oh man, this was not meant to be a land destruction deck, but I will take it. I will take it. Alright, we're up against Krulik. Good luck, Krulik. Alright, we're on the draw. Got removal, double redraw this. I think it's keepable. It's not amazing, but it's keepable. Alright. Well, Anger of the Gods is pretty good there. Unfortunately, Elves probably has plenty of forests. So these are just, whoa, maybe not Elves. That's a human. Alright, so this Anger of the Gods is still going to be pretty good, but there is a chance. A chance indeed that we can ruin their lives. I probably have plenty of basics still, but Anger to this is just fine. We're going to take some pain here. Absolutely. Yes, put it in as a 3. Oh, it's going to hurt, but it's going to feel so good when I anger them. Anger. I'm sure they still got plenty of ways to deal 11 damage to me out of nowhere. At least for now, I get to feel good about something. Let's go ahead and blow up the Stomping Ground. Yep. Alright, and pass. Do one of these marches. Bone Crusher, yep. Pell Collector seems decent. Bone Crusher, yep. Alright, let's march X3 exile the other march. Auto pay. Chandra Torch isn't bad. It's not really where I want to be right now, but... So... I'm going to... So I'm going to Cleansing Wildfire. Maybe I draw an Anger of the Gods. Odds aren't great. But it's worth a shot. If nothing else, if I can draw a removal spell. That's a removal spell. Hit with this. It's still going to hurt, but... Next turn we've got this Chandra, which that is functionally an Anger. Like, the Cleansing Wildfires haven't been super punishing, but it's at least been something. Alright, there's the Chandra Torch. That may actually be the play. So we've got 6 mana. So as much as I want to do this, so that's -3 either way. I'm going to hold on that. I'm going to play this Chandra so I can also draw a card with Bankbuster. I probably should have...
You want to go, tough guy?
Okay, no. I was going to say I probably should have Goldspan and then done the Chandra, but I wouldn't have had quite enough mana. Alright, it's gonna... Oh, it's only when it's spell, so I'm good. Next. Not out of the woods. I've only got 5 life left, but... Yep.
I don't need this.
Hell Collector. Alright, so this Chandra is going to do some work. I've seen this movie before. Alright, draw a card. Land ain't bad. So play that. Play Big Chandra. Is there an upside to... Nope. I was going to say, is there upside to gold spanning first? The answer is no.
Get out of my way. I'll burn it up.
I'll go ahead and...
Everyone knows
Wrath.
bigger explosions are more fun.
Scoobs. Yep. Alright. +2 here.
Aw, looks like someone's getting a little sweaty.
Just occurred to me that this was questionable. Resolve. Okay, never mind. I got... Alright, so I have access to 5 mana. So... I can... Smash, excess 3... Submit. Submit. Autopay. Alright. Tapped out. Scoos is dead. Elves. Yep. X is 1. Nuke that. Now this is decent because if they do have like a haste creature, I've got Den of the Bugbear on reserve, and I think we might get there. Like, I don't want to count the chickens before they hatch, but like, this isn't a bad place to be. This Den of the Bugbear can crew Bankbuster. Yeah, there we go. We got there. Woohoo! Alright, we're up against Golfer Bill 92,000. That's one of the more intimidating usernames I've seen. Good luck, Golfer Bill. This isn't incredible. I got a couple redraws. Keep it. Go big, go home. Playing Guild Gates, so that's something. Is it a budget deck or is it Gates? It's a Gates deck. Yabba dabba doo. Alright. Well, things that blow up lands seem just fine to me. Probably have basics. Don't know if they got a lot of them, because they need a lot of gates to make gate tribal work. Alright, there we go. Wow, we keep doing that at sorcery speed, so let's go ahead and take them off of... There's that one card that lets them draw for gates. So the question is, do I blow up a gate or do I blow up the island? They might have another island, so I think what I want to do is get rid of one of the gates. Let's blow up the Boroskill gate. There's the Gates Ablaze that is also worth remembering. Okay, and we're chaining lands together at least, so... Yeah, Guild Summit, there we go. Like, if I knew for fact that they didn't have another basic island, I would have gone after that, but... the way it is, I just could not be sure. So here, Karn, what would I get with Karn? Karn can get me Unlicensed Hearse, Luxior, Meteor Golem. I think I'll get Karn, Luxior. So I have enough mana to Chandra and Luxior next turn. Not knowing enough about what they've got going on, I don't know what else hates on them best, so at least this advances my game plan. I remember the Gates deck being annoying in Standard. Alright. Sokenzan is alright. Plus I also have this as my sort of foil. So here I can go Chandra, ping Luxior, or I could Urabrask. I'm gonna try Urabrask out. Well, they're definitely chaining together plenty of gates. That's for sure. Banefire.deck. Okay. Play Sokenzan as a land. Go ahead and Chandra.
You want to play with fire, huh?
Let's exile top card. It's a Bankbuster. I'll cast the Bankbuster. Why not? Do you have Banefire number 3 in hand? Golfer Bill? Oh, they've doubled up on gates. Still pretty good because Guild Summit, but... Alright, well, we got plenty of life. That's for sure. If we keep yanking lands, we're actually not in bad shape, are we? So, if they block, they still... deal with stuff here, huh? Yeah, let's go ahead and kill that.
See ya.
Then go ahead and drop this just to get it on the battlefield. Yeah. Technically, if I turn Chandra into a creature right now, it makes her a little bit too vulnerable. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Bankbuster. This lets me leave up double Abrade and or double card draw. So I like that. We'll see if they can punish me for it. This Gates deck is nuts. Having flashbacks to Guilds of Ravnica Standard. Double Guild Summit. No way. If I can rip a land... Okay, if I can rip a land, then I can Ugin. Those aren't lands. That ain't a land. Alright, no Ugin for me. At least not this turn. Actually, never mind. What am I talking about? I can do this. And this. And this. And then I'll go ahead and leave Play with Fire, make it a little bit harder for them to hit these, but I look forward to attacking with Ugin. Meteor Golem, no! Okay, well, sorry Ugin, it was good while it lasted. Peace.
I did all I deemed appropriate.
Alright, plus Cleansing Wildfire. I'll blow up this, I suppose. Auto pay. Alright, we already have Sokenzan on the battlefield, so gonna have to remember that. Go ahead and Abrade Meteor Golem. And then equip Chandra. Go to combat. Start dealing some damage. Alright, and then I like where I'm at because I can leave up Abrade, I can leave up Bankbuster. I don't know what I'm going to do if they have another Gatebreaker Ram. Turn all non-land permanents that... Oh, that's annoying. Let's draw a card. Alright, let's play Field of Ruin. Should be good if they... I don't actually know if the... Now I'm thinking about it, Mazes End, I don't know if that's actually in Explorer, but let's go ahead and Chandra. I'll go ahead and tap this for it. For her. Gotta be respectful.
It's my turn.
Let's see, I'm gonna have to discard a bunch of cards if I don't cast a bunch of them, so let's go ahead and add 2. Bankbuster. Bankbuster. Then Bankbuster. Now we don't have to discard. No lands in hand. That thing's a problem. That is a problem. Can do 4 with her, 3 with anger, then play with fire.
Feel the burn.
Nice counterspell. I don't like the number of resources I had to spend to kill that, but worse things have happened. Go ahead and get Chandra into the red zone. Yep, seems fair. Gates don't, Gates Ablaze doesn't do a whole lot otherwise against this deck. But actually, that being said, I've still got 2 Goldspan Dragons left to draw, so that's going to be just fine when it happens. Alright, Chandra. Let's see, I've got 5, 7 mana. Let's go ahead and exile the top card. March of Reckless Joy. That... I'm going to decline that, just do the damage. Equip Chandra, and then crew a Bankbuster. Combat, attackers. Hopefully we'll get there eventually. In turn. Gates ablaze again. Alright. Sorry, Chandra. Attackers. Let's go ahead and make some little dudes. Or do I want to draw a card instead? Let's go ahead and draw 2 cards. That seems better. Hey, it's Chandra's back. Alright. Let's play Den of the Bugbear. That'll help us be aggressive. Chandra is back, but I want to tap Scavenger Grounds. I'll plus her. Play with Fire is 2 mana. This does let me scry. Yeah, let's do this. That way I get the scry. It's the same amount of damage, but let me put that to the bottom. Alright. We'll equip Chandra again. I mean, they probably could have plenty more copies of Gates Ablaze, but we'll see. Alright, end turn. Archway Angel. Let's go ahead and nuke one of these gates just to be on the safe side. Boros Guild Gate, Simic Guild Gate. I think they have doubles of pretty much everything. Let's go ahead and take out this one. Because, yeah, that's going to gain them a whole lot of life. And I'm getting tired of playing the game, as it were. Jesus Christ, they're back up to 32. Of course. Alright, let's plus deal damage. Let's see. I'm going to draw a card with this Bankbuster. Anger could be worse. I kind of want to hold on to this Banefire in case they've got another Ram. Let's just go to combat and crew this with Chandra since they're going to probably block it. Attackers. No, they're not going to block it. Alright. March is not bad. And turn. Circuitous Roots. Oof. This was a good top deck. I'm afraid if they get out another Ram, I'm not actually going to be able to do anything about it. My turn. I've got 7 mana, so let's go ahead and march. Oops, I did that for too much. I need to X is 6. Alright, well I think Goldspan is pretty good. Arena appears to have run out of in-game audio. So that's unnerving. Karn. Reveal an artifact. I'm gonna get Aetherflux Reservoir. Got 3 mana left. Not bad. Go to combat. Attack. And then... yeah, my audio is all messed up. This game, something else. Alright, I'm going to leave a card draw. I'll play Aetherflux Reservoir next turn so I can chain into more spells. Growth Spiral, okay. What you got? Still got a Cleansing Wildfire left in the deck somewhere, so... my turn. Alright, so... I'm gonna go ahead and Sokenzan, make some dudes, move a charge counter from this, auto pay. Alright, and then move a charge counter from this, auto pay. Alright, and my turn. Alright, so I've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, so I can actually kill them on the stack, believe it or not. Crew 3, submit, crew 3, submit. All I gotta do is get one more treasure from Goldspan, and this one, and this, combat, I'll attack, get another treasure token. They block Chandra, that's cool. And got Xaxes anyway without the Banefire. So we had a couple ways to win there, but we got there. All right. Weird matchup, but we got there. All right, welcome back for the wrap up. So this deck was a lot of fun. We got to see the salty wins of just, people not having basic lands in their deck. We got to see it control the game really nicely using planeswalkers and turning them into creatures with Luxior. I think the deck does need a little bit of something else that I'm not really able to put my finger on super clearly. It has a lot of the outs that you'd want to see, in the sense that you can grab sideboard, graveyard hate. Maybe it needs some of it main board in best of one because of Greasefang, but I think that it generally it can fetch those things pretty quickly, and then Karn also, albeit a little bit slow sometimes, can turn off the ability to crew anyway. So it's it's got a lot going for it. I think that what it really needs is a way to generate treasures early on, and so we can get to Karn and whatnot earlier. So any sort of ritual type effect would be really useful here. And so I don't necessarily have a good sense of what I would do to make that happen sooner. But, for the most part, the deck is fun. I don't necessarily know that this is the most competitive deck, so unless it looks like something that really speaks to you, I wouldn't waste the wild cards on it. Like, there are a lot of things in here that are staples that are fine to spend wild cards on anyway, but like, if you don't have most of the deck in your collection already, I probably would skip this one. But it is a lot of fun. You get a lot of the salty wins from Cleansing Wildfire. It doesn't go so far into land destruction that, you have to feel like you're a total troll. But at least it keeps people honest about having to play some number of basics to not just get hated directly out of the game. We saw how having that incidentally can be really useful against the Gates deck. And, it's the March of Reckless Joy, Reckoner Bankbuster into, the different Chandras all felt really good here. The Urabrask has been the most meh thing here. It's almost certainly better just as a third Goldspan Dragon. I wouldn't craft it, actually, now that I've played it. Because, the turn after they untap, the opponent still sees the card. If they play it, they play it. If they don't, they don't. And so, they have a lot to... they don't have a lot to lose unless they can't remove it right away. And pretty much every time I played it, it either didn't matter and then they removed it, or it didn't matter and then they won the game. So, it's just a Goldspan Dragon that doesn't fly and doesn't, get you an extra mana. It is nice. The one time I think I untapped with it and got an extra card, it was like, ooh, this feels really great. So that upside isn't trivial, but it wasn't the amazing thing I thought it was going to be. There's a argument that maybe this should have something like Big Score in it at the 4-drop slot to help it draw cards and make treasures. But, a 4-drop slot is pretty highly contested here. And, unless we're going to drop the Karn package, which is feasible, that it does make some amount of sense. I don't necessarily know that gets us anywhere any better than it did otherwise. Otherwise, this has been MonoRed Control. It's a fun departure from the sort of things I've been playing recently. It's a true blue control deck, even though it has no blue, no white. It's just red cards and artifacts, and I guess the 2 random colorless cards in here. And yeah, if you've got the cards for it, give it a shot. If you don't, then just bask in these videos. But otherwise, if you did like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you like what we do here, creating a new control deck every single week, go ahead and hit subscribe. It means a lot to me, and I hope I see you in the next one. Peace.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of